I have no respect for myself. I have no respect for other people, so why should I spare myself?
आशिक आदमी है ना खुशवंत, और वो इनका जो सिलसिला है वो मजहब इश्क का सिलसिला है.
वो पूरे पोएट्री का एसेंस समझते हैं, माहौल समझते हैं, खुशबू समझते हैं, कल्चर की खुशबू समझना, not just what is being said but what is being implied.
मुद्दत हुई है यार को मेहमा किए हुए, जोश कदा से बज़्म चिरागा किए हुए.
Welcome back to an NDTV special with author, columnist, agent provocateur and iconoclast Khushwant Singh, who turns 94 this year and is out with a new collection of his writings called Why I Supported the Emergency, Essays and Profiles. Nearly 70 years or more of writing so prolifically, fiction, histories, memoirs, journalism, biographies, and a column with malice towards one and all that has gone on for 60 years.
That's right. As somebody asked me how I was so prolific, and out came my answer without any second thought, because no one's yet invented a condom for the pen.
But also you've never missed a single deadline or a column in 60 years.
Never. Never. Even when I'm sick, I have to keep up all night. I meet my undertaking. I've given my word that it will be there at this time. It's always there.
Does it come from a very strong sense of discipline, a commitment, waking up at 4 o'clock every morning and just getting down to work?
Yeah, I get up at 4. I lead a very disciplined life. It's regulated by the stopwatch, not the ordinary watch. But I also learned how to be ill-mannered. People drop in, I don't see them without an appointment. When I invite them, it's strictly between 7 and 8. And anyone who stays a minute after 8, I can be very rude.
7 o'clock, good dot of scotch comes out.
That's right. That's the one luxury I've never denied myself. I don't have any other bad habits.
You tell the marvelous story of your mother, who at the age of 94, ill in hospital and barely conscious, still asked for her little whiskey.
That's right. And she was the last words she spoke before she went into a coma. Saying, "Oh, whiskey." I taught her how to drink and enjoy it.
One of the great triumphs of your life has been your sense of humor. Among all your serious writings are these piles and piles of Khushwant Singh joke books, jokes in your columns, silly jokes, rival jokes, naughty jokes. It is your sense of humor that's kept you going, laughing at your community, at fellow Indians, at the world. But do you think Indians lack a sense of humor by and large?
Well, I'm born joker, and I don't take myself seriously, and I don't take anyone else very seriously either. So, and everyone has a laughable side, including oneself. So I look for that. I mean, I meet a lot of politicians, and when they start bragging, that's good material for me. And most of them tend to brag. It's an Indian habit to talk about oneself. And their favorite topic is what they did and how important they are. And that's excellent material for a malicious man like me.
And you also are quite malicious about yourself and make fun of yourself. One of the funniest pieces in this collection is called Why I Got Buggered, which is about a doctor examining you for piles.
Yeah. I mean, with that thing sticking inside my bottom and pain and all, when your doctor asks you to fart. I thought that's too funny to be left. I immediately thought of writing about it.
But at a more elevated level, sir, one of your great abiding passions has been your love for poetry.
Yeah.
Urdu poetry, the lives of the great writers
Yeah.
of Delhi, of all poetry. Before we end this special interview today, ek sunaiye, Ghalib ka sunaiye sher, the great denizen of Delhi like you.
Well, he is my favorite. And my favorite lines about Asadullah Khan's aging and the joy of life ebbing out is wo bada shabana ki sarmastiyan kahan. What happened to those nights of drinking orgies? Uthiye ki ab lazzat-e khab-e seher gayi. It's time to get up and forget the sweet dreams of the morning. वो बादे शबाना की सरमस्तियाँ कहाँ उठिए के लज़्ज़ते ख्वाबे सहर गई मारा ज़माने ने असदुल्ला खान तुम्हें मारा ज़माने ने असदुल्ला खान तुम्हें वो वलवले कहाँ वो जवानी किधर गई. That I find those lines apply to me very much.
Very much. One of your recent collections was called Death at My Doorstep, a collection of your obituaries. Do you sometimes feel like tempted to write your own?
I have already done so. I have written my obituary 2 or 3 times. Now there's a whole book published by Rowley called Death at My Doorstep, where I have put them all together.
How would you most like to be remembered?
Well, somebody who brought a smile on the people's lips.
It's a joy to talk to you, sir. All the very best for your new collection. And may you turn a centurion soon and write many, many more books and entertain us and bring many smiles to all your huge following and readership. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to an NDTV special with Khushwant Singh, author and columnist, iconoclast and agent provocateur. He is out with a new anthology of his writings called Why I Supported the Emergency, Essays and Profiles. But in truth, he's written so many books that even he can't remember.
In the 80s, when some people tried to wean away the Sikhs from the mainstream of our life. And it's a great tribute to the people of India and the institutions enshrined in our constitution that dark phase is now a thing of the past. The Sikh community has regained its confidence. Sikhs today flourish in all parts of the world, and being a chronicler of that fascinating story, the community has to be very grateful to Khushwant.
Sir, you've supported the emergency. You were a reluctant supporter. And although you told Indira Gandhi that you opposed press censorship during the emergency, you were really quite partial to her son, Sanjay Gandhi, weren't you?
Yeah, that's quite correct. But let me explain why I supported the emergency when it was imposed. In every democracy, there are rules for the government and there are rules for the opposition, which they must not break. The government was anyhow under severe criticism on what Sanjay Gandhi was doing. But the opposition just enjoyed seeing the whole law and order system collapse. No buses running, no trains running on time, planes not running on time, schools closed, colleges closed, huge processions smashing up private and public property on the way, no action taken. And the final came when Jayaprakash Ji himself endorsed stopping elected members of legislatures from doing their functions.
What he called total revolution.
At Gujarat first, the students get out the Vidhan Sabha, and then he threatened to do it to the parliament here. And he called for almost a revolt. Don't pay your taxes, army, police, revolt. Now, no government, democratic government in the world can really support that kind of break of rules for the opposition. I wrote to Jayaprakash Ji protesting that, you can go that far, but you can't stop people who've been elected from doing their functions. He wrote back to me a very lengthy letter. I published it in full in the Illustrated Weekly. And remember, when the day the emergency was imposed and hundreds of our leaders were put in jail, there's not a squeak of protest. There's a sense of relief that law and order had returned, apart from people like Fernandez, who went underground. There was nothing, no protest, and was generally welcomed. And amongst the people who supported this step was Acharya Vinoba Bhave. What went wrong was the misuse. And Mrs. Gandhi set a bad example by settling personal scores. You get two women who worked organizing farm labor in her farm. They were arrested and put in jail. Rajmata of Gwalior, she was put in jail. Gayatri Devi of Jaipur was put in jail. Then the rest of the members of our family followed. There's Muhammad Yunus settling his scores, Menaka Gandhi, her mother, settling their scores. Anyone who said anything against them was promptly locked up.
Sir,
But
the real excesses were committed by Sanjay Gandhi, who you were very fond of. You called him a very lovable gunda. You were very infatuated by Sanjay, weren't you?
But I admired him because he got things done. He made a mess of the Maruti, no doubt.
And the forced sterilization campaign, which lost his party the election.
I think that was a vastly exaggerated story. It paid them dividends. What he had in mind was right. This country needs compulsory family planning. It won't respond to these advertisements of hamare do, tumhare do, and all that kind of thing. It hasn't cut any ice. The population problem is the priority in this country. And he had it right.
So you liked Sanjay Gandhi?
Way, yeah.
You liked Sanjay Gandhi?
I liked him because he's a man of action. As he said, Kaan zyada, baatein kam. And he was, in fact. He didn't shoot his mouth at unnecessary issues. You owe a lot to him, the cleaning up of the slums, the planting of trees, and then they misused the stories about his compulsory, say, picking up people from bus stands and cinemas and forcing. That was not true. There were some, but it was not true that he set targets for so many people must be Nasbandi in this time. It was totally exaggerated, but it paid dividends.
You were also very fond of Sanjay's wife, Menaka Gandhi. After all, you helped her with her magazine Surya during those days and later.
Yeah, I did. I was not particularly fond of them, but they came to me. I didn't start it. The mother came to see me in Bombay.
Menaka's mother.
Menaka's mother, and asked me if I could help them because they had no experience. So I used to come regularly. I got permission from my employers, who daren't say no because of the emergency. I used to come almost once a week to Delhi, spend the weekend here, and the first few issues were entirely organized by me.
And what was Menaka and your friendship like?
It was working. There was nothing more. I saw a lot of them in their home, members of their family and others who I perforce got to know all of them, and they were in and out of this house all the time.
But Menaka and you had a terrible falling out later when she took an injunction against your memoirs and hauled you over the coals for that episode of her leaving Mrs. Gandhi's house after Sanjay Gandhi's death.
Yeah, she did. A judge of the High Court gave them the injunction. It took me 10 years to appeal to get that injunction removed. So that hurt me in more ways than one. And we were not on talking terms. But now the injunction is over. My autobiography is there in the market. It's already gone into some editions. So I've forgotten all about that.
But what's your opinion of Menaka Gandhi?
Well, as you can see, anyone who switches parties like they do without any principles of any kind takes a son allowance to the BJP, which I regard as a Fundu party, basically based on suspicion and prejudice against Muslims. That's their strength, that she should join them. And she makes a way into Parliament from Pilibhit, where the substantial population is also voting, is also Sikh. That's up to her. I think, give her credit for one thing. She's the only one who speaks for animals. That I give credit for. For the rest, I don't think she abides with any principles of any kind.
You've recently called Menaka Gandhi a liar, and you've said that Varun Gandhi probably inherits this streak of lying from her. What do you think of Varun's hate speech and the subsequent developments of him being clamped in jail under the National Security Act?
I think I agree that the National Security Act should not be used in this case. But he should have been taken to task. The Election Commission censored him for what he said. I censored him personally because I can't take any words of hatred used against Muslims. And he went further. A slur on the entire Sikh community, inke 12 baja dunga. You can say those things in your home, but you don't go and use it on an election platform. And he did that. I think it was unpardonable. But I agree that the National Security Act should not have been invoked in this case.
जो हाथ हिंदू के ऊपर उठेगा उस हाथ को वरुण गांधी क्यों डालेगा? ये जो आदमी थप्पड़ आपको मारे, आपको क्या करना चाहिए? दूसरा गाल दिखा देना चाहिए. उससे बेवकूफ कोई बात मैंने सुनी नहीं आज तक. बड़े डरावनी नाम होते हैं. करीमुल्ला, मजरुल्ला. अगर रात को कभी दिख जाए, डर रहे हैं.
What do you think of Varun Gandhi? You said that he seemed a very personable young man when he brought his book of poetry to you.
Yeah.
And yet he is capable of such vicious and vituperative remarks on an election platform.
But it came as a very unpleasant surprise. I thought the man was into poetry. He couldn't be doing anything wrong, and he writes reasonably good poetry. And I thought, thank God, at least one member of the family is out of this dirty business of politics. But I didn't know what would happen when I saw that he stood for taking over his mother's constituency and used these words. I was very deeply disappointed.
3,000 Sikhs killed in that moment, in those terrible weeks after Mrs. Gandhi's assassination in 1984. You yourself had to leave this home and seek sanctuary with friends. And yet, it is only in recent days when a Sikh journalist throws a shoe at the Home Minister that Congress candidates like Jagdish Taitler and Sajjan Kumar were made to withdraw from their seats. Don't you think that's a little too late and too little?
Well, I go along with you, with all that you said, that this should have happened much earlier. It has been too late, and the people who were the criminals who carried it out, including the Delhi government itself and the police, they should have been punished long ago. So far, to the best of my knowledge, only 13 people have been convicted.
You've spoken extensively in your new collection about the workings of the Nanavati Commission, which investigated the targeting and killing of Sikhs in 1984. But do you think that commission or the many other informal inquiries ever really brought justice to the Sikhs?
Well, it's a very large question. At least the Nanavati Commission indicated that Sajjan Kumar and Taitla had much to answer for. So did some of the others. There was a book written, I forget now, Who Are the Guilty, which listed their names, including they never took them to court. Taitla came to see me once, soon after, and gave me his safai, what he said I had done. I said, Jagdish, if you allow me to cross-examine you, and you prove to me, only me, that you had nothing to do with, I'll write in your support. He never came. So there he is, he's been punished. He should have withdrawn himself, and that would have been more gentlemanly thing to do, rather than embarrass the Communist Party.
We'll continue our conversation with author and columnist Khushwant Singh, who's come out with a new collection of his writings called Why I Supported the Emergency, Essays and Profiles, in just a minute. Stay with this NDTV special.